So in our last video, we kind of understood what domain name is. Now, if we go into the details of it, and this is what I have learned over the last 2 days, if you think of a domain name, for example, again, our beloved www.google.com, and let's say this has actually I'll just copy it. Let's say there is a IP address of something like this, right? Now something has to translate for the server what google.com means in terms of IP address. So let's say, for example, this is the domain entered by the human, and this is the IP address, right? So what exactly translates google.com into this IP address? So in order to do that, we have something called the DNS, or domain name system, right? Now what does the DNS exactly mean? Now let's think of the internet like a huge library, right? So now the library has books stacked in it, right? So these are the different domains that are on the internet, and we need to find our domain in all of this. Now the human types out something called google.com, but something has to find what is the IP address of this particular domain, right? So now we come to something called a domain recursor, right? Or let's call it actually the DNS recursor, right? Now DNS recursor is like the librarian who has to find the book, right? So for example, this guy is the DNS recursor, right? Now our DNS recursor has to go around and look into each of these racks and find our relevant domain, right? So the DNS recursor goes to something called a root server. Now this is like an index, right? It tells it, or it basically points where the specific domain might be, right? So now it might say that, hey, you might look into this particular set of places for this particular domain, right? Now, okay, now our DNS recursor is going to look into this particular set of domains. Now the next step is going to something called a TLD name server. Now we know what TLDs are. It could be something like .in, .com, .org, .us, right? Now the DNS recursor now goes and says like, okay, I can see .com written on it, so I will go to just the .com rack, right? So let's say this is the .com set of racks, right? This particular one is the .com set of racks. Now we go to something called the auth name server, and this auth name server is a final step which basically tells you like, okay, we are looking for google.com and this is the one that you're looking for, and this is the one that is going to translate into this particular IP address, right? So that's the concept of DNS, or as I have understood it, right? Now where are, like, we see that so many domains exist, we see how these domains are found and they are allocated to their IP addresses, but what do these uh, what do these mean? Like, just having a name and an IP address doesn't mean that the website contains information that you're looking for, right? So that's where something called hosting comes in. So hosting. Now for hosting, what do you need? You need two things. One is a domain name, and you need a server, right? The domain name, obviously you have already bought it from a domain name registrar, and the server is with, you know, similar registrars who hold these servers, and you buy a server from them. So basically now for a website you have bought this and you have bought this, right? You have two plans for domain and the hosting, and these are typically with GoDaddy, Namecheap, Hostinger, Google Sites, right? And you're buying a domain name and a server from them, and once you have done that, you are taking all the files like your .html, .css, .js, right, which are relevant to your website, so these are your website files, and you are taking these and putting them into these servers, right? So now when a DNS goes and looks for the IP address, they hit these files and then they read these files. So browser reads these files and the browser shows it to the user. So that's hosting for you. So yeah, that's the concept for today. Hope to see you in the next video.